Hello there, and welcome back to another video of the Twilight browser app. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what's new with the latest update to make its way into the app, and that's update 1.14. So, the last update, if you recall, there was a feature where you could access your completed games. So previously, before update 1.13, once you completed a game, you would only be able to see the result of who won and who was in it, etc. in your completed games tab. And of course, with that update, now you can actually go into a viewer mode in the game and see the various game logs, player info tab, and objectives and whatnot. One of the things I said at the end of that video was that we were looking like we were going to get this into a more generalized viewer mode, and that's exactly what we've done for this update. So the big new feature here is that when you create a game, you're now going to have the option whether you want to make that game public or not. So by making the game public at its outset, you'll be able to provide anybody with a link, and they'll be able to paste that link into their browser and view the game from a viewer mode, just like you would view your own completed game. Right? So to reiterate, in the viewer mode, the viewer only has access to public information, none of the player's personal information, like what action cards they have and whatnot. The other thing that the viewer mode is going to do is it's going to be usable right from the get-go. So if you are playing a game where you are selecting factions, viewers will also be able to jump into the lobby while players are selecting factions as well. Once you do make the game public from the outset, you cannot take away that private permission. So just bear in mind, once you give someone that game link, they're going to be able to see your game for the duration. That's a big new feature there. I'm looking forward to that being utilized. As far as game components go, we've added in 4 new agendas, all of the same theme. So they are the research team agendas, and we'll get into those and what they do in a sec here with the demo. So yeah, that's what's new in this update. So going over to our game tab, we can see that we have an active game here where we're going to demonstrate how these research team agendas work. So let's hop into it. Now, I'm not going to go through the agenda phase where we vote on them, but rather what I'll show you is they are laws, and they do get elected per planet. And you'll see here that I have 2 of them attached to this player, Charlie's planet. So they're basically all the same, just 3 of them get attached to an industrial planet, and one of them, the research team warfare, gets attached to a hazardous planet. So we have 2 of them here. So for example, research team cybernetic, once you elect the planet and it gets attached to the industrial planet, whenever you research technology, you're going to be able to exhaust this card to ignore one of the cybernetic prerequisites. And the same for research team warfare. As the name implies, you're going to be able to exhaust the card to ignore a warfare prerequisite. The other 2 I don't have here, but they are in the same spirit. So propulsion, research team propulsion to ignore propulsion prerequisite, and research team biotic to ignore one biotic prerequisite. So these are exhaustible, and they come readied when they are elected into play. And you can see this over in the game info tab. So everyone can see Charlie has Grawl, and as you've seen now, it will be grayed out if it's exhausted. Otherwise, the blue text indicates that not yet exhausted. There isn't an exhaustible state in terms of the view, because I'd rather not have the card flipped upside down. There's no like exhaust like the way the planet cards flip, so you're gonna have to be mindful here just looking at your player info tab for now. Now, since we can perform an action, let's go ahead and activate technology. So taking a look at our technology decks, we currently have 2 propulsions, so no other prerequisites going for us. So normally here, if we wanted to go try to research from the cybernetic deck, we'd have to start with Sarwing Tools unless we had a planet that can ignore a prerequisite, and the same for warfare. But because we have those 2 agendas at the ready, remember one is cybernetic corresponding to the yellow deck, and one is warfare corresponding to the red deck, we could actually research Graviton Laser immediately, or Mag and Defense Grid, or even if we go into our unit deck here, we could actually research PDS2 without having to own a warfare or a cybernetic technology, because we have those 2 cards, agendas ready at the ready. So let's just use one of them though for now, and let's suppose we wanted to just go straight to Graviton Laser System. So double click it and go to Resolve Strategy, and now you'll notice here that what's been added in addition to what you normally would see here is you have those 2 unexhausted cards. So in the technology research scene here, you'll see any research team biotic cards show up just down here at the bottom left. So for example, and we'll see this in a bit, if we've exhausted research team cybernetic, this won't show up here, right? So if we just try to research Graviton Laser, of course, it's not possible because we lack that one cybernetic prerequisite. However, what we can do instead is click Research Team Cybernetic, and we'll be told that we're using it. So we're going to exhaust this card to skip the relevant prerequisite when we confirm our research. And we can undo this just by clicking it again to deselect the Research Team Cybernetic, so it won't be used. And the same for the other card if we wanted. Works a little different than the planet cards because again there's no like exhaustible state. Flipping the card upside down is not desirable, I think, not being able to see what the cards are. Worth noting here that even though these cards are attached to planets, if these cards are exhausted, they don't bear any relevance to whether we can use these cards or not. So even if we had Star Point exhausted, we could still, this would still show up. We could still use Research Team Warfare. And I think I'll maybe demo that just here. Even though we don't have to spend resources, and I'm not sure if the game will actually let us. Okay, never mind. Fortunately not. But let's just go ahead then and click Research Team Cybernetic and see that we can complete the research of Graviton Laser there. So there it is, shows up, researched it. Without having to own Sarwing Tools. Now, what we've just done is use Research Team Cybernetic. So now if we were to go and research our second technology, you'll notice that Research Team Cybernetic no longer there because it's now exhausted until basically the start of the next round where the cards all become ready again during the status phase. So now if we wanted, we could research Mag and Defense Grid, Omega, and we could skip the prerequisite using Research Team Warfare and spend our 6 resources, and we'll get Mag and Defense Grid there, right? And so those are not all of them, but generally how they work, the research teams, the 4 cards. Okay, so what I want to do next is hop out of this game and demo the viewer mode. So I have a lobby open for Alice, Bob, and Charlie. But before we get into this, I just want to show you how to create the viewer mode optionality, or I think I just made up a word there. How to enable the option for viewers to view your game. So you have the create game, and then the final option here is there's a public checkbox which you can toggle, and if you click this question mark, you'll get the description here. So public games: when a game is made public, anyone with a link to the game will be able to watch it. So actually you'll notice here in our active game has this lock on it, so it's private and people cannot view it. But our viewer game here that we've made is public. So it's in the lobby right now. If you look at the game info, we've done all pick. No one has picked their factions yet. So let's go ahead and hop in to the game with the 3 players who are in the game. Oops, that's not the game. So let's go ahead and hop in here. Right, and now, so these players are all in the game with the option to select their faction. And now let's go into a 4th tab and let's log in as someone who's not Alice, Bob, or Charlie. Let's actually log in with Dan. So Dan has no games going right now, but let's say his friend Bob, because he knows this is a public game, gave him the link, and Dan can just go there and see that he's not playing in the game, but he can see what the players are doing. So for example, Alice picks the Emirates of Hakan. Dan sees that. If Charlie picks the Embers of Muat, again, Dan sees that. And then finally, when Bob picks the Cha Kingdom, you're going to see that Dan is going to load into the game as a viewer, and he will be able to follow along and hop in and out as he wishes, right? So he's in the game. You can see he has none of the things that a player would normally have. He's got access to all the public information, including the game logs and the player info tab. You can see reinforcements. He can see faction information, faction sheets. So he's got all that capability. Discard piles. And so, for example, now Bob might want to place his starting units. So we'll just show that Dan sees that happen. And back over in Dan's tab, you can see Bob's units, and he can fiddle around with them. He can look at them. He can navigate through the board. Can even click the help button to see, if he's new to the game, to try to learn. Watching other players use the app, and there you go. So that's the viewer mode, and Dan can sit in on this and watch as the game progresses. Okay, so that does it for this update. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy making use of the viewer mode if you like watching games and don't always want to play. Stay tuned. We got a big announcement coming up in the near future, so keep your eyes open. Otherwise, yeah, if you have any questions or want to give any feedback, I strongly suggest you head on over to the Discord with the link right here. For up-to-date videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, link over here. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.